Oh, hamstring. Up. Sniper, take the other picture.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you can formulate opinions without having true facts.
I'm telling you, think about it logically for just a second.
Dear Reds fans, welcome back to the Zebra Zillionaires. It was a tough one yesterday.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning. A pleasant good Tuesday morning to you and yours. Welcome to Off the Bench, presented by our friends at United Dairy Farmers. I'm Thom Brennaman. Glad to have you with us. We come your way Monday through Friday, 10 to 12 p. You got it. That's Eastern Time. You can find us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. If you'd rather join us in podcast form, by all means, just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman and you're dialed in. Going to be a quiet week down at Paycor as the Bengals enjoy an off week this Sunday. It means a solid 2 weeks of healing for all the players, but two in particular will be watching: Joe Burrow and that injured calf, and his left tackle Orlando Brown, who injured his groin in Sunday's win over Seattle. The 49ers are next up on the horizon. That's a week from Sunday. And talking about injuries, they had some big ones in Sunday's loss to the Brownies. Now, head coach Kyle Shanahan said tackle Trent Williams and wide receiver Deebo Samuel are day-to-day leading up to their Monday night game against Minnesota. No word yet, however, on star running back Christian McCaffrey. He has an oblique strain, underwent an MRI yesterday, and no word on his condition or his return. Last night, pretty good game. Casey, not bad.
It wasn't bad at all, Tom.
Not bad.
No.
You're a guy.
Who?
You're
Who's
a
my
guy.
guy? No.
Reed,
no.
who's his guy?
No.
He loves Justin Herbert. Listen,
No.
when we go off
He's
the
always
air,
said it.
No.
he won't stop talking about Justin Herbert.
Oh, my God. I came in here ripping him left and right, and now you're making him my guy? I can't handle
You
that.
were talking him up last year, and now you've gone south on him.
No,
Yeah,
it
you
was
really
the guy
have.
sitting
Am
beside
I right?
You're right. You're right.
That's
100%.
true.
This is
We know it's
ludicrous.
Tracy's guy.
Duh.
But the Dallas Cowboys bounced back from that humiliating loss against San Francisco, a 20-17 win over the LA Chargers. Neither team was particularly impressive on offense. Dak Prescott did not turn the ball over despite being sacked 5 times, and Mr. Herbert, Casey's guy, threw a late pick in the final 2 minutes to seal the Cowboys' win. Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson, the 4th overall pick in this past year's draft, likely out for the remainder of the season. That's according to team owner Jim Irsay. Richardson will undergo shoulder surgery this week after sustaining that injury in a Week 5 win over Tennessee. On to baseball. Last year, Nick Castellanos knocked the cover off the ball in Philadelphia's run during the National League playoffs, and then fell completely flat on his face when they got to the World Series in the loss to Houston. This year, he is becoming a postseason legend. Last night in Game 1 of the National League Championship Series, a 5-3 win by Philadelphia, Castellanos hit his 5th home run over a 3-game span. The first player to do that since one of the most legendary performances in the history of postseason baseball. And that was Reggie Jackson during the World Series in 1977 against the LA Dodgers. Philadelphia also set a postseason record with 12 home runs over their last 3 games. And 7 games of this playoff run. In those 7 games they played so far, Atlanta, or the first round, and then Atlanta, and now Arizona. The Phillies have hit 16 home runs in 7 games. Game 2 tonight, 8 o'clock on Fox. Merrill Kelly gets a ball for the D-backs. Aaron Nola starts for Philadelphia. In the American League, how about the Texas Rangers? They've still not lost a single game this postseason. They win yesterday 5-4 in Houston. Texas leads that series 2-0 over the defending world champs as the venue moves to Arlington tomorrow night. I got to tell you, there are moments you watch baseball, regular season, postseason, and you look at a manager's decision on how they handle certain situations. Yesterday with Nathan Eovaldi on the mound, this guy's an outstanding pitcher, okay? But here you are, you're leading 5-2 in the 5th inning, okay? Houston loads the bases against Eovaldi with nobody out. What's Bruce Bochy do? He leaves him in the game. He says, I trust this guy. He's my starter. He's my best chance to shut this down right now. And guess what he did? Strike out against Diaz, strike out against Jose Altuve, and then gets Alex Bregman on a ground ball to third. No runs for Houston and no looking back. Now, on the local front, did you see this story about Joey Votto? Bob Nightingale. Now, some like Bob Nightingale, some don't. He is a senior baseball writer for USA Today. He's been around forever, and he normally is on top of his game. He's had some misses, well-known misses through the years, but generally speaking, he knows what's happening. Now, he writes the Reds and Votto appear to be parting ways. As we know, the Reds have a $20 million option on Votto. They're not going to pick that up. They have to pay him $7 million just to leave the team. Could you imagine getting paid $7 million just to leave? Just here you go. Enjoy it. On the way out, Brinks truck. A sticking point, apparently, is Votto's desire for more playing time. And as we know, the Reds are stacked with young players who right now appear to be ahead of him on the depth chart. Now, Nick Krall has said, we've made no decision, nor has he even spoken with Votto since the season ended. Coming up on the show today, we will discuss this Votto situation. Super Bowl winning head coach Brian Billick is back to talk about what's happening in the NFL. We'll ask him about being a head coach and being an offensive play caller. Remember now, Brian Billick was this highfalutin, high-flying offensive coordinator in Minnesota. He gets the head coaching job in Baltimore. They have the great defenses, have a bad string of luck with injuries to quarterbacks, including Steve McNair, among others. They did win a Super Bowl. They got to the playoffs, I think, in his 9 years, 7 times. We will also recap our weekend picks and have our Power 5 rankings in the National Football League and college football. We like to start off with what's on your mind. Casey McAllister, apparently you did not get your fill of Cincinnati Bengals football yesterday. Yay or nay?
I mean, I could always talk Bengals football, but I'll try to keep it more relevant. Last night did 2 things for me.
Okay.
It made me feel like, Justin Herbert might be the most overhyped quarterback in the NFL. And then secondly, it made me appreciate what good defenses look like in a game like that. This whole week has been low scoring, lots of good defense playing right now in the NFL. But yeah, Justin Herbert is overrated. I mean, I'm just tired of talking about him in the top echelon. He's always put himself in opportunities in games where he has the ball. And there's a stat out there that he leads the NFL right now in comeback wins or something like that.
Yeah, fourth quarter come from behind wins. He has the most, or second or third most in the NFL since 2020.
But he's always in that position. And then
Yes,
when he plays against teams like this, you see what happens. He throws a pick, ball game over. I mean, this season has been bad for him. He's been put in this position, I think, 3 or 4 times now, and he's lost every single time. I guess 3 times because he's lost 3 times this year. Every single time he's had the ball against Miami, failed. Against Tennessee, failed. Dallas, failed. And Tennessee is not even that good. So,
well, what was I reading here today about this? All 3 of the Chargers' losses this season have come by 3 or fewer points, including 1 in overtime.
That's correct.
yeah.
I mean, it's plausible this team could be 5-1 or 6-0 right now. And we're talking about one of the best teams in the NFL, right?
That's right.
They still, here coming up on the horizon, they have to play Kansas City. They'll play them twice this year. They have to play the Lions Both of those games span over the next 4 weeks. Could they win them all? They could win them all, or both of them. Could they lose them all? Absolutely. But, when I sit there and watch, I got to be honest with you. Now, Dallas is a hard team to gauge how good your offense is because they have a very good defense, especially getting after the passer. Now, they didn't have a sack until the very end of the game. And then they had the hit where Herbert threw the interception with 2 minutes left to go, and that was that. Gilmore got the pick. But I tell you, Mike Williams is out. We know he got injured. I look at the rest of their team. They couldn't run last year. The first game of the season this year, I think they run for 200 and something yards, but Eckler gets hurt. He misses a bunch of games. They can't run. Then last night, they can't run. And it seems like every time Herbert is dropping back, and again against Dallas, great pass rush, great front four, it seems like he's under pressure the second he catches a ball. I don't know how much you can beat the guy down.
Is there a bigger anomaly in the NFL right now than the Chargers?
No.
You could legitimately see the Chargers winning 12 games, getting to the AFC Championship game. Wouldn't surprise you whatsoever. You could see them winning 7 games. Wouldn't surprise me
That's
whatsoever.
Right.
They have such a wide margin of just what they're capable of doing. And I'm not out on Justin Herbert. He played really bad last night. He missed some wide open
Yes, he
throws.
did. He missed some big-time possibilities. Touchdown throws.
Like Keenan Allen,
Yep.
like no one around him for 10 yards, and he overthrows my man. He missed some. He looked very, very bad. And as a Bengals fan, it's hard for me to criticize the quarterback with what's going on with Joe Burrow right now because, even Joe Burrow looks terrible. Justin Herbert didn't look good last night. I still think Justin Herbert is a quarterback that I'd want as the quarterback of my team. That being said, listen, the Cowboys are a very good team. The Chargers are more than likely going to make the postseason. The Chargers are more than likely going to win double-digit games.
Chargers?
Yes.
This year.
This year. I feel very confident about that. I think that I don't know if they beat the Chiefs, but I think they can beat the Lions. I think they win double-digit games. We said it themselves. They're 500 right now.
They're 2-3.
What?
They're
2 and 3.
2 and 3.
They
my
were
bad.
500 going into the game.
Apologize. And they haven't lost a game by more than 3 points. This is a good team. And they're going to make the postseason. They're going to win 10 games. All these things I think are true. It's just, when are they going to get some solid ground underneath them? When are they actually going to be the team that we think they can be with all the talent that is Justin Herbert, with all the weapons that he has? We always blame the coach. Last night it was Herbert. It's always something with them. When are they going to get some solid ground underneath them and be the team and have these live up to the expectations that we have?
I feel like you can blame the coach there. Brandon Staley's maybe the worst coach in the National Football League.
Yeah, they didn't kick the field goal.
Which is a wild move. I get the analytics thing. I get it. But if you're 4th and short and you can tie the football game, you tie the football game. That's just what you do. I don't care how close you are. Unless you're the Eagles who have mastered that play.
He split those decisions. One time he didn't do it, and then near the end he did do it to tie it.
Yes.
Well, at the end they had to do it.
Well, I know they did.
Right. They didn't have to do it early in the game when they turn it over.
Right.
But the other thing, too, that we're forgetting is they were in a position that they should never even been in the first place. That muff punt or whatever that happened there, that is so fluky. Like for your player to think that it was touched and he's just trying to make a play and it just happened to be that he barely even touched it to begin with. The Chargers weren't in this game. Let's be honest, they weren't not in this game to begin with. They got lucky.
Talking about Casey.
They got lucky.
Yeah, Casey, you're saying they weren't in this game.
They got 60, 70 free yards off of that drive.
Casey,
and then they scored.
The say that they weren't in this game is ridiculous. They were never less than a possession away.
That's right.
They scored first,
but
and then it was 7-7 till right at halftime. It was 10-7. Then it was 10-10. And then Cowboys scored to make it 17-10. So don't say that the Chargers weren't ever in this. Yes, that they got a fluky play and they got another possession. They got some luck. But don't say that they weren't never in this game.
Cowboys were dominating them, start to finish.
I don't know about that. I thought the Chargers defense played pretty doggone well. They sacked Dak Prescott 5 times.
Right. The Chargers defense played better.
I'm just telling you guys, they should never have been in the position to even score 17 points. They scored 10. And then they got lucky.
Did the Bengals get lucky scoring 17 against Seattle?
Maybe. Maybe, Tom. I don't know. I'm just telling you that the Chargers are overhyped.
I agree with that.
They
100%.
always fail when it matters most.
Yes, it
That's
does.
fair.
And they got lucky last night. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. That's a fair observation. Why do you think Staley's the worst coach in the league?
Because the decisions he has made over the past several seasons have cost the Chargers many a game.
Yeah, it's every coach makes hard decisions. It's why they get paid millions of dollars. But for some reason, Staley has a knack of always being wrong. It's never worked out, and it's running tired. It's running tired. They're going to make a change, Tom. They're going to.
Well, if they don't make the playoffs, they'll make one. If they make the playoffs for a second straight year, as you say they will, then
they got to win a playoff game or else.
Well, yeah, and they blew the 27-0 lead last year, and I don't hang that loss by any means on the coach.
Well, do you remember?
I mean, the quarterback's got to get a couple of first downs. That's all
Yeah.
you needed. If you'd have gotten 2 more first downs in the entire second half, you win the game.
You remember
in Jacksonville
2 years ago? It was the coach's fault why they didn't make the postseason.
Well, you're right.
They went to the final week, final game of the year against the Raiders. If the teams tie,
Yep.
they both make the postseason.
Yep.
And it appeared as though the Raiders were okay in overtime with taking the tie.
You're right. I can't argue that.
And the Chargers call a timeout because they want the ball back to try to win it, and the rest is history. Raiders win the ball game.
Brandon Staley's not good. I complain about Zach Taylor a lot. If Brandon Staley was our head coach, there'd be riots in the streets.
Okay, but we're going to talk to Brian Billick about this later. Staley's an offensive guy. He's an offensive guru guy, right? You know, he's kind of like what Billick was, 25, 30 years ago. He was like this hot shot offensive coordinator guy, all that kind of thing. And then he becomes a head coach. But he hired a guy to be the play caller, right?
That's right.
He brought in the guy from Dallas that they kept showing the entire game last night, right? Kellen Moore. I tell you what's interesting is, with all the heat that Kellen Moore was under in Dallas, when they put up some of those statistics so far this year with the Cowboys, every category they are way down compared to last year. And I mean, they ran Moore out of town, and basically Mike McCarthy kicked him in front of the bus. His quote was, all he wants to do is light up the scoreboard. I would like to be able to run it a little bit to save my defense. The only category they're better this year than last year is time of possession. I look at Dallas and look, they've got some talented players. Can you really see that team beating one of the big boys in a big game? I mean, you see them going on the road and beating the Niners or the Eagles.
No, Tom. I think, and everyone loves
or the Lions, for that matter.
Everyone loves the Lions, right? And they're right because they played fantastic this year. But I just can't imagine a world in which the NFC Championship is anything other than the Eagles and the 49ers. Unless one of those guys have a serious injury like to Brock Purdy, to Jalen Hurts, one of those things where you're losing their quarterback. In my opinion, I think the NFC Championship is locked up. I don't believe in the Lions.
Dude, if the Lions get those games at home, they can beat anybody.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Maybe so. But I just personally can't see it.
Have you watched a lot of Eagles football this year? Just question. Have you watched a lot of Eagles football?
I watched them play the Patriots. They're week 1, and I watched them play one other game.
Okay. For me, like their stats suggest that they are, they're top 10 in everything, but there's just something off about them.
The Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles.
I agree.
There's something off that's not there that was there last year. I don't know if it's just like they're not as efficient or, they're still highly efficient, but there's something off. They're not as dominant as they were last year. It's like the torch has been given to the 49ers, which 49ers, they kind of blew it this last week. But I don't think it's as locked up as you think. I think the Lions right now are very, very talented.
I want to correct myself real quick. I had said, and shame on me, I had said that Staley was an offensive guy. He's a defensive guy. Yep. So my bad. Defensive coordinator for the Rams.
He did play quarterback in college at the University of Dayton, fun fact.
Yes, he did. He's from Ohio.
Yep.
All right, so my bad. Thank you very much in the chat for getting me straightened out on that. There's shame on me. Go ahead.
But what I was saying, Casey talking about the Eagles, and it's a fair take that they don't look as good as they did last year. But we have this problem as sports fans, where when teams are in this elite category, when they get to this elite tier, we're talking the Eagles, we're talking the Chiefs. In baseball, we'll talk the Braves and yada, yada, yada. When you get to this elite category, we compare them that we expect them to keep getting better. You always expect the team to keep getting better. And sometimes that's not always the case. The Eagles can still be an elite team and not be as good as they were last year. And I think that's the case. It doesn't always have to be teams keep rising, keep rising, keep rising. That doesn't have to be the case. Sometimes things, it's an ebbs and flows of sports,
That's
right?
That's right.
You can have a good year, you can have a great year the next year, and those things don't look like each other. So that's why I'm not hard on the Chiefs. People can say that the Chiefs' offense doesn't look great, whatever the heck that means. And then people can say,
wait a minute now.
That's a good take.
Fair criticism.
That's a good take.
But you're spot on what you're saying, the primary point you're making. But we'll get back to the Chiefs' offense. But go ahead. You were starting to say.
Well, I was just the point I just wanted to make, and I already made it, was we can't always expect elite teams to keep getting better. When you get to this elite tier, sometimes it's just an ebbs and flows that you go down a little bit, but you're still very good. The Eagles are still one of the best teams in the league.
Yep.
The Chiefs are still one of the best teams in the league, and they don't have to look as good as they did last year. Simple as that.
Yeah, the Eagles are 5-1 through 6 weeks, and the one loss they had, they were dominating the game through 3 quarters. So I'm not concerned about the Philadelphia Eagles. Not to mention, if it's 3rd and short, 4th and short, it's an automatic first down for them, which is a superpower. I mean, that's legitimately every single time it's 4th and short, first down. Doesn't matter. First down. The Eagles are fine. I agree with Reed. It's going to be the Eagles and the 49ers in that game. The Lions are cute. It's a fun little story. But at the end of the day, Jared Goff's going to have to make some big-time throws against some big-time teams. I don't think he's got it in him. I'm a Jared Goff hater, I guess you could say.
Hater?
I'm a hater. I don't hate Jared Goff personally, but I don't think Jared Goff's a very good quarterback in the NFL.
Come on.
I agree with you.
Guys, he took a team to the Super Bowl. He then went to a godforsaken franchise in the Lions, and you guys are saying that he's the best team in the NFC. What are we talking about?
Some are saying David Montgomery and the rushing attack for the Lions are carrying the load.
Guy.
Well, if you want to say that Jared Goff is a great quarterback in the NFL, then what about Brock Purdy? Because it's literally the exact same situation. He's got a great offensive line, a defense that's balling out right now, weapons all around him, and you want to say that Jared Goff is one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL?
I would take Jared Goff over Brock Purdy because I've seen it for longer. I've seen Brock Purdy play 11 games. I've seen Jared Goff do this for 6 years in the NFL. I've seen Jared Goff take one team to the Super Bowl, and now he's going to the NFC and taking a godforsaken franchise and have them at top of the league.
You've seen 1 year where the Rams were unbelievable and going to the Super Bowl, and then he fails in the Super Bowl, only scoring 7 points. Wow, what a great quarterback.
3 points.
Then this year, you're seeing Jared Goff take a team that's 5-1, which is pretty impressive. But as soon as the pressure gets to him, he just flounders. He's just not a great quarterback. If there's any pressure on him, that offensive line has to be the best in the league, or else Jared Goff is not what he is right now, and that's a fact. You just go look up the pressure stats on him, and he's awful. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. So.
Well, he's doing something right.
Right, Tom.
Because you walked in you pointed out, Reed, he walked in the door, and look, one of the most tortured fan bases in all of sports, and I maintain to this day, they are the best fan base in the National Football League, and I'm talking about the Detroit Lions. In my opinion, traveled around the league for 25 years. I'm not saying that Detroit's a better place to go to a game than Green Bay, or a better place to go to a game than when New Orleans had Drew Brees and they had it going on and they're scoring 35 every night. It's not what I'm saying. The Detroit fans have been tortured beyond description, and you can't get in a building when they play. And they're rabid, they're into it, and they're easy to root for. I think they can play with anybody. I think they can play with anybody in the NFC.
I'm with you, Tom. I think listen, I think that your name, I think your franchise history matters a little bit in every sport. And I think at the end of the day, when it comes to Lions, they get in the postseason, there's going to be so much pressure on them to win that playoff game, right?
Yep.
To overcome what they haven't been able to overcome, and the pressure's going to succumb.
But to your point about Goff, now I don't know if he's going to get killed back there with his offensive line against a talented defense, a rush like the Niners have, a rush like the Eagles have potentially when they have everybody there. Carter has been out. Darius Slay was out last week in the secondary. But Goff's experienced. He's been in the big games.
Right.
It's not like, C.J. Stroud starting a game, getting Houston into the playoffs. He's never been there before. Been in big college games, but not big pro games. Goff has been there. Mm-hmm. He's been there with terrible teams and been there at the very pinnacle of the football world. He's not going to mentally melt down. No. I don't think.
Tom, he's been in the league. This is his 8th year in the league. He's had 2 losing seasons in 8 years. So
and with the crappiest team in the league.
Well,
at the time.
Well, he's been in Detroit for this is his 3rd year, and he's on his way to a second of 3 winning seasons.
No, but I'm saying one of those losing seasons was his first year there.
Correct.
When they were terrible.
In his first year in L.A., he didn't win a game.
That's right.
So other than that, he's been a very good quarterback. Turns the ball over maybe a little too much, but he's been very, very good. He's been very good. In fact, I think he's probably been the most slept-on quarterback of the past 8 years because he's never been to that great status. He's never gotten over that hump of being like, this guy's it, right? He's never been the guy at the top of the league like the Joe Burrows and Justin Herbert, and those are guys that have been touted like that. But Jared Goff has just been quietly waiting in the wings and just wins football games.
This is a interesting stat here. Sean Connor from the chat, thank you very much, says Goff since the beginning of last year, 40 touchdowns, 10 picks. You go 4-1 TD to interception ratio.
It's pretty good.
That's really good.
14-9 as a starter, too.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, Casey, you continue to say. I mean, you're being accused of trolling today.
Listen.
What does that mean?
Listen.
You're accused of trolling. Could you bring me up to the sort of the hipster sort of, what does that mean?
So it's like I'm coming from out under the bridge. Here comes the troll right from underneath the bridge. All I'm saying is, if
and
you want to consider,
you come out from the bridge and what?
What is a troll, Casey?
Yeah, what is a troll?
A troll is someone that is purposely trying to get a reaction out of someone by saying stupid shit. And what I'm saying is not being a troll. What I'm saying is not being a troll.
You should know it has Norse mythology, by the way, but go ahead.
Jared Goff, if you guys want to consider him a good quarterback,
which I don't.
He's better than good.
God, he's good. What are we talking about?
If he's good, then so was Brock Purdy. He's literally in the exact same situation.
You're the guy who's killed Purdy on this show.
No.
You did. Reed does too.
I've killed Purdy.
All you guys do.
The thing about
all
Purdy
three
is,
of you are clowns.
I'm okay with calling Brock Purdy good. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to insinuate that he's the MVP. I'm not going to fall in love with Purdy until I see more of him, because at this current moment, I think he's got the greatest roster I've ever seen built around a quarterback.
If you take away Brock Purdy from that team, they still win 12 games.
You take away Jared Goff from that team and they still win.
Disagree.
5-1. Guarantee. They have guys all over their team, and I said this last year, and y'all made fun of me. Now look at what they're doing this year. They've got a top 3 offensive line. Aiden Hutchinson's leading the league in pressures. That defensive line is stacked right now. They lead the league in pressures. Let's get that out of the way. Okay. Their defense is top 10. Like, what more do you want? He's also got David Montgomery. He's got Jameson Williams back. He's got Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's got a top 5 tight end and Sam Laporta. Like, what are we talking about here? It's the exact same situation.
They got a good team. But if we can't call Jared Goff good, then who the hell is good in the NFL? The dude's won everywhere he's gone. And he's 40-10 as someone pointed out in the chat since the start of last year.
Well, 40 touchdowns, 10 picks.
Correct.
Yeah. A person who intentionally antagonizes others online or on this show by posting or saying inflammatory or offensive comments or other disruptive content. Does that describe you today, Casey McCall?
I think it does.
As you are being charged in the chat.
I'm just confused. I'm confused because we all sat here in this room and we're like, I don't know, Brock Purdy might not be good. And it's the exact same thing. I never said that.
You did. I never.
A lot of people in this room have been very, very, very hard on Brock Purdy.
Get-go.
You guys.
Casey, you got fired up there for a second. I was scared. There was a look in your eye, and I just thought I was gonna have to leave the room.
You almost started yelling at me, Casey.
Yeah. Don't
My bad, guys.
We got.
I'm sorry. I'm just.
Casey, do you think
all I'm saying, all I want to hear is that Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. Then.
Casey, do you think if your guy Justin Herbert was on the Lions, do you think they'd win a Super Bowl?
Oh my God.
That's a very good
not my
question.
guy.
He
Thank
just
you,
said
Tom.
basically somebody else could step in there.
Yeah.
And win 5 or go whatever that Jared Goff has gone the last 2 years. Yeah, I think they could win that many games. What, 14-9 is what you said? Yeah, I think anyone could do that.
14-9. They started what? They were like 1-7 last year. Was that them or was that the?
Yeah, they were one. Well, I don't. Yeah, they were 1-7 too. Jags also were like 2-7.
Speaking of the Lions, they play Baltimore this week.
It'll be a good game.
Yeah, we'll see.
That
We'll see
might
how
be
that
the
goes.
best game on the slate.
So since their 1-6 start last year, the Lions, that makes them 7-2, 5-1. They are 12-3 since they started 1-6 last year. The Lions are 12-3. Tom.
Well,
Their
now
quarterback's
in
not
all fairness, and I won't. You know what? I'm not even going to comment because 12-3 is 12-3. Everybody, you play who's on your schedule, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I get tired of hearing about that whole schedule thing. We learned our lesson, or should have learned our lesson, when people were talking about, oh man, just wait till the Reds get to September. They've got all those stiffs they're playing. Yeah. How'd that work out? How did that work out?
What a collapse in September by the Reds.
Well, hold on now. No greater collapse than your Chicago Cubs.
I don't know what you're talking about, Tom.
Which, by the way, if you have The Athletic, it's a very interesting read. I'm not bringing this up because I'm in the article. But John Greenberg, who writes for The Athletic out of Chicago, this is the 20-year anniversary of the 2003 National League Championship Series between the Cubs and the Marlins.
Ooh.
And the Bartman, he writes a lengthy piece, really long, great stuff, about that game, just that game, Game 6. He doesn't go into Game 7. He doesn't do anything that happened before it when the Cubbies had a 3-1 lead in that series. It's about Game 6, and he interviewed guys like Eric Karros, who was playing for the Cubs. He interviewed me. He interviewed a bunch of other players that were involved in that game from the Cubs side. This was strictly a Cubs-oriented piece. Nothing about the Marlins in there except for how they won the game and the series of events that took place. But it is a great story. You would enjoy reading it.
I would read it.
You weren't old enough to remember that series.
That's actually not true, Tom. That was my first baseball memories, is watching that series. Gary Wood's home run.
Yes, indeed.
Was that Game 6? Was that Game 7?
That was Game 7.
Yep.
Yep.
Remember that. Running
It's
around
one of my favorite ESPN 30 for 30s when they did that.
Oh, you're a sadist.
What do you mean?
I mean,
I'm a sadist. It was interesting to see how the Chicago Cubs faithful destroyed this man's livelihood. I thought that was interesting how the city of Chicago came together and hated
we're even.
one
We
good
gave him a
man.
ring. We gave him a ring.
You did. It's right. You did technically.
Yeah,
As he
after
lives
his
in-
life had been ruined.
he's in witness protection in the middle of
That's
Nebraska.
exactly right.
But sure, I guess he can.
We're fair. Even.
Take solace in the
Even.
fact that he is.
All right, let's get to our power rankings.
Okay. We got picks too, Tom. So
Oh, you know what? Let's start with that.
let's do picks first.
Let's go with picks. If everybody remembers, I mean, it was one of the great moments on this show. When we started last week, and the Zebra started on an 0-8 run.
I wouldn't say that was great, Tom.
Did you come back from that? Do you think we had a good
Do you
week?
think
I
you
think
came back?
I think I had a really good week.
You do.
I think I had a really, really, really good week. Casey's about to confirm it. I'm assuming we don't have the records again, but if
We got to do these records today.
we
We got to go through and do these records.
because I would like to know my record. The NFL, I was one of the best gamblers of all time. Even I think last week I still finished NFL 3-2 actually.
Okay.
Because I was 0 and I was 0. No, I wasn't.
0-8. You were 2-3.
I was 2-3. Still not bad.
No, it's not bad.
It's not bad.
Not bad.
good.
No. I mean, I've been brutal, so I'm not going to sit there and beat up on anybody. But when you started on that run last week, 0-8, every time we put up your pick from the game over the weekend, It was an instant L. All right, Casey, where we start?
Real quick.
We have a
Hold on.
super
We
chat.
have a
We have a
super
super chat.
We do? What is it?
Mr. Mo,
Yeah.
$5 super chat
Yeah.
said, "What I'm hearing is any quarterback with a decent team is not allowed to be a good quarterback." Casey, stop with the trolling.
There's that word again.
Ouch.
There's that word again.
Ouch.
I don't think that's what Casey's saying. I think that there is extenuating circumstances in which there are certain teams that deserve more credit than the quarterback, and he's saying that one of those teams is the Lions. I say that one of those teams is the 49ers. Casey is saying one of those teams are the Lions.
That's not even really what I'm getting at. Here's my true opinion on it. I think Brock Purdy and Jared Goff are good quarterbacks, but let's be real here.
Okay.
They have top 5 rosters around them. If you put any other quarterback in that situation, for the most part, not the bottom of the bottom, the guys that can't even play football like Zach Wilson, but if you're putting in guys like Derek Carr,
Baker Mayfield,
they're going to succeed.
I think that's
I'm
true
just-
about the 49ers.
I don't know about that.
I think if
I
Baker
don't know
Mayfield's the
about
quarterback
that.
of the 49ers, I think the 49ers are still one of the best teams in the NFC. I think if Baker Mayfield's
I
the
don't know.
quarterback of the Lions, I don't think they're one of the best teams in the NFC.
I don't know about that. All right. Are we ready to go?
Yeah, I was gonna try to throw up the super chat. Couldn't turn it
that's
on in
okay.
time,
But
but that's
thank
all
you,
right.
Mr. Mo.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
I
Mo.
love you, Mr. Mo.
We love Mr. Mo. All right, here we go.
I like you, Mr.
Casey, he stepped up. I don't know how in the world I picked Cincinnati. They stink. All right, 0-1 across the board for Reed, me, Elliott, and Casey.
It's a bad game.
Solid pick. Solid win,
pick.
Case. Solid.
Push.
Ooh, wait a minute now. We have Houston. Houston, we have a problem. We're 0-2, Elliott.
It's a push.
That's
It's
a push, Tom.
It's a push.
It's a push.
It's a tie.
Okay,
They lost by 3.
0-1-1. This is
0-1
like
and
a
1.
soccer
Soccer,
match.
baby.
Go ahead.
All right. Next up.
The Mighty Buckeyes.
I think if they play one
Reed,
more
not a believer.
Tom, I think if they play one more quarter, Purdue wins that game.
Yeah, you're right.
They play a fifth
You're right.
quarter.
They'd
That's
have
Purdue.
scored.
That's the
There's no
Boilermakers
doubt.
game in West Lafayette.
That's right. If
They really
could've
played. Ohio State really played up to being the second best team in the state.
behind.
We'll get to that game in a second, I imagine. The best team in the state had a rough week.
no, Tom!
No.
There's a dub for you, Elliott,
Oh,
and a dub for Reed.
You know what's
Casey,
sad?
I'm sorry.
You know what-
Listen,
I apologize
Tom-
yesterday for this nonsense.
Hang on, Tom. We didn't realize what we were going up against. Rocky Lombardi? Are we kidding? One of like 2 legendary sports just figures in our lifetime just combined together into one quarterback.
Here's the thing.
was
You know what's
just
sad
a
about
mess.
this? I
Rocky's not a
bet.
real person.
I bet on Ohio. This is the thing I do. I don't
You
even
didn't
remember.
lit me up on Twitter.
Yeah, I did because this is you've
you
been talking
troll
about
Tom?
it for a
He
month
did.
and a half.
He
how-
did. Lit me
He
up.
trolled Tom.
No,
He
I
did.
didn't.
Yes,
no,
he-
I did. I was told by
Elliott,
Tom.
did you light me up or not?
No, I didn't.
That's
Tom.
BS.
Tom told me all week
And that was determined to
how
be a
Ohio
lie.
University. Tom told me all week how Ohio University was the best football program in the state of
They
Ohio.
are. No, I said
They showed
I
up-
said second best.
No, you said the very
No,
best. I
nobody's
remember
better
exactly.
than Ohio State
Pull the
because
tape.
they're undefeated.
So I trusted your word. I put my hard-earned money on it, and I lost. I lost everything,
All
Tom.
right. Well, we'll make it back up in the next
It was
few
always the
weeks.
Huskies.
We'll make it
We
back
knew it was
up.
gonna be the
By the way, I'm 2-1-1. If anybody's keeping track here,
You are.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good start for you, Elliott.
very good start.
All right, what do we got in ND? Across
Yep.
the board.
It's a win for all of us.
How about that?
Yep.
What about us?
That
Three
massacre
sharp.
there.
We were sharp.
3-1-1.
God, what a blowout that was.
Tell you what, Zebra Zillionaires.
That's right, baby.
Here we go. All right, what's next?
Here comes
Hold
the
the
zebra.
phone. Oh,
Here
boy,
comes
hold
the zebra.
Uh-oh.
Hear that?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Elliot.
All right, we're 3-2 now, Elliott. Here we go.
That's fine. I won money on that game. That's fine. This doesn't
Okay.
even phase me.
Hear that,
Oh,
Elliott
boy.
growling.
No, isn't the
Now
NFL your
we're on a
bread and butter?
2-game losing skid.
Isn't the NFL?
How does anybody in their right mind pick Tennessee over Baltimore?
Because
I mean, come on.
Dude, Baltimore scored 7 times. All field goals. I think they had 1 touchdown, and they still covered. Like, they got in the end zone 1 time.
Baltimore.
Tennessee would have won that game if they were playing in the United States of America.
By the way,
Oh.
did you see that Ryan Tannehill got hurt, and they put in Malik Willis? What the hell happened to Will Levis? Like, where is Will Levis?
Oh, man. I mean, that spiral started in training camp. They said he couldn't do anything.
I mean, that's crazy.
All right, who's next up?
All right. This is a loss for everyone.
L's across the board, understandably so.
Oh,
The
and 3.
Brownies are for real, folks. The Brownies are for real. Go ahead.
I'm 0-3 in the NFL. Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
0-4 in the NFL.
0-4 in the NFL.
Oh, boy.
I mean,
I
why'd
did
you
pick
guys-
the Lions. All right, I thought I picked Tampa Bay. Good.
Why? What?
Yeah.
Can someone explain to me what it is about Tampa Bay that people love? I don't
I
love
love-
their quarterback.
I like Baker's spirit.
You know what?
He's
You're
spunky.
I like Baker's energy. I do. He's got a kind of an FU attitude. I like that. I like the underdog mentality.
Listen. I agree. I like when guys have that mentality.
Yes. Passion.
But also, he always is playing the victim though. Like he's always saying that everyone's against him, everyone's out. He's a top quarterback in college. Like what are we talking? He won the Heisman. Like what are we talking about that everyone's always against him?
So for me, it's the defense that I really like about Tampa. That defense could be really, really good if they had a great offense behind them like they did with Tom Brady. But I'm starting to come around to the idea that maybe it's not all what it's cracked out to be because I think there's a lot of older guys there now. I mean, the Lions
kind of their
have
last
their way.
hurrah, right? I mean, like with
Yeah.
the age that they have, you know what it kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of the dwindling years after the Colts with Andrew Luck. You remember that Andrew Luck
that's what it's
retires?
like.
They still had a really good roster, so they're just getting like some stopgap quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield with the Bucks, and the Bucks are like, man, we just won a lot of games over the last 3 years with Tom Brady. Let's see if we can keep this going, and this is kind of a last hurrah for the Bucks.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And I don't think the Bucks are good by any means, but I don't think the Lions are good either. I think. Listen.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Let me rephrase.
Wait a minute.
What's the Bucks' ceiling?
Can I rephrase? The Lions are a good team this
They're the
year.
best- they're the third best team in the NFC.
They're going to win a lot of football games this season. Saying that, if you honestly believe in the Detroit Lions to win a playoff game this year, I can't help you. That city has a history of losing, unfortunately, just like the Cincinnati whatever.
This is their year.
They can win a
So-
playoff game. They will not win a divisional game. They will not.
They will not.
They will not make it to the conference.
So no, I don't think the Bucks are great. I don't think the Lions are as good as advertised. So
What's the Bucks' ceiling?
The Bucks' ceiling is probably 10 wins.
Winning
No,
that division, like that division, though they have every team besides the Panthers is 500 or better. I mean, no one has a high ceiling there. The Falcons, the Saints, the Bucks, no one has a high. Like we're looking at the highest is maybe 11-6, which is good. That's really good.
I think their ceiling's 9 wins. Yeah, Michael Ackley said it in the chat. 9 wins. I agree with him.
Okay.
They're just not very good. They do have. It's crazy though. They do have still like elite offensive weapons. Mike Evans is a Hall of Fame wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers ever. Yeah, he is.
I said he's old.
Oh, he's still really good though. He's not. How old is he? Mike Evans?
Yeah, I mean, he's around the same age as A.J. Green, I believe.
Mike Evans is 30 years old.
What, really?
Really? Okay.
Mike Evans is not old.
I
Mike
take it
Evans
back.
is
I take it back.
Man,
Mike
yeah,
Evans is
no.
30 years old. They got a good
30
team
for
there.
wide receivers.
Did he enter the league in young?
2014 is when he got drafted.
Man.
All right, let's move on to the next game.
All right, what do we got next up?
We got Colts versus the Jags, and that's another Elliott.
Oh, boy, Elliott, the wheels have fallen off.
Elliot,
They have
NFL was
fallen
your
off.
jam.
Is that 0-5?
What is
No,
that?
you wait a minute. Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
0-5
an
in the
offer.
NFL.
It's an
All right.
offer.
Is that it?
That's it.
0-5?
0-5 in the NFL.
I didn't get better.
What is this thing they have kind of like for you on Betfred Sports? What is this thing? You go into the website and they have what?
Your
You
boost.
talking about the boost?
Yes.
So-
Explain
so-
that to me and to our audience that may be
Yeah.
not familiar with that.
Yeah, so you go to the Betfred Sports app. You go to the Boost tab.
There's
and
a tab that says Boost.
Correct.
Okay.
You'll see our Chatterbox.
Should just say zebra.
You'll see our Chatterbox Boost, or you'll see my Zebra Boost. And what it is, it's a parlay. The sports book would take the odds for the parlay traditionally, and they boost it up so you have better odds. So if you put X dollars on it, you win X more dollars on it because they're boosting it for you.
So to put this into practice, into real world experience kind of thing, let's
Sure.
just assume for a second I was going to bet money line on the Diamondbacks tonight, and I was going to bet on Schwarber hitting a home run. I'm going to parlay that.
yeah.
Okay, so maybe the odds on that might be who knows, 10-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying they would be bumped up to roughly on average what?
Like a 10-1, probably go like 13-1
Wow.
or something like that.
Pretty
Yeah.
good.
Pretty good boost.
Very good.
Do you use the boost much?
Yeah.
How's
mean,
it
first-
going? How's it going? What's the record of the zebra?
Yeah, how are we doing? Because I mean, God forbid that you're parlaying any of those picks this week. But I mean, you might have done something else. So you picked Northern Illinois, but you bet on Ohio University, so that was a dub.
Zebra Zillionaires is yet to win. Did you know that answer going in?
I had no idea of that answer.
So I've lost every week.
I wouldn't have asked you that question
There's
if I'd have
thousands
known.
of millions that are taking that boost, and they're just losing their money. All the homeless people you see here in town are probably just a Zebra Zillionaire better.
I think that I saw the dude with a
Try my
lawnmower walking around with a Zebra Zillionaire shirt on. Actually, I think that Trace had given him the caddy outfit. 'Cause that's a good way to
I'm
stay
sorry.
protected
Listen,
from
guys,
the sun.
I'm sorry.
We're always one bet away.
Here's the
one bet
just
away.
That's
like-
right. That's right.
So right now we're in the hunting stage, just like the Bengals. When the Bengals win that first Super Bowl, it's euphoria. The world is our oyster. We're in heaven. It's
Yep.
euphoria.
Yep.
Can
When
I
I win that first Zebra Zillionaire, the world will rejoice.
ask you a question?
World peace.
Slinging our way,
what?
Big Pimpin'.
Do you remember what your Zebra Zillionaires were for each week, or pretty close to it? They've been a lot of Bengals props, haven't they?
They've all been Bengals props.
Some might say that might be a
Don't say it.
jinx.
No. No, the Zebra Zillionaires is not jinxing or cursing the Bengals.
I don't know, Elliot. There's a lot of evidence
Time out,
that
time
might.
out. Since the Zebra Zillionaires was launched, the Bengals are 3-1.
Hey, something to be said for that.
Well, didn't he do it week one? Didn't you start this week one?
Yeah, I don't think you're right.
Yeah, I don't.
Since the Zebra
What the hell are
Zillionaires
you
launched,
talking
it was
about, Reed?
3-2.
No, I think it's 3-3.
Week 2.
I think we started week 1, brother.
No, we started it when we went to the game.
Everybody in the chat is saying,
didn't do it for the
Elliot,
Browns.
please continue to bet against the
You're right.
Bengals.
I'm all right.
I bet it against. You saw my pick. I had the Seahawks. I got the Bengals to win. What do you want? What else do you want from me? I'm not a great gambler. Everybody knows this.
He's doing his best. Get off his back.
Everybody
Sorry.
knows gambling is about the
Keep that
All right,
friends.
if you had to bet this one right now, I'm just curious your thoughts. Everybody in the room on this.
Yeah.
The early line, I was just checking on the Ravens at home against Detroit. Baltimore is a 3-point favorite in that game. If you were betting it, what would you bet?
Elliot? I would take the Ravens
I'd take the Ravens.
because I believe in the AFC over the NFC.
I take.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
I like that, Elliot. I like that a lot. You take the Ravens -3.
You
do
would
that.
bet the Lions +3.
Yes, I would.
Ravens offense doesn't look good. I'll say that.
Well, the
but
Bengals need that win for Detroit.
they do.
They need that win for Detroit. Okay, we got Brian Billick coming up at 11:20. Let's go to our Power 5 rankings.
Yes.
Because there
Yes.
are some big-time tests
Yes.
for some of the boys in the top 5 this week. Big-time tests. You got Florida State, who's undefeated, playing against a good Duke team. That's a good team, Duke.
Very.
No doubt.
You've got the mighty Buckeyes from right here, our home state, the Buckeye State of Ohio, hosting those clowns from Pennsylvania,
Nittany Lions.
the
They're
Nittany
not
Lions in Columbus, high noon, in the shoe, Saturday. Here we go.
clowns.
All right, let's go. Let's start with my top 5. I'm not going to drop Georgia for the same reasons that Reed does not drop Kansas City, because every
That's fair.
time they're
That's fair.
tested and they have a big game, they win.
That's a good point.
Washington, I think, has the best win of the rest of those behind them. Everybody undefeated. And the quarterback's a Heisman Trophy winner, at least today as we sit here. They look unbelievable. Although their defense, very shaky. The mighty Buckeyes come in at number 3. The only reason I have them ahead of Michigan is because Ohio State has a better win on its schedule this year than Michigan. Michigan, again, has played nobody. Now, it's worked out for them the last 2 years. They've gotten to the playoffs. So I'm not going to sit there and beat down their schedule. It's embarrassing who they play out of conference. It's ridiculous. But they've gotten to the playoffs 2 years in a row. So God bless them.
Hey, statistically, they're better than Michigan. I mean, 28th ranked offense, 6th ranked defense. I mean, Michigan's 42nd offense.
Yeah, but Michigan's really good, and they're number 4. And then to separate really for me, Florida State from Penn State would be Florida State's best win was against LSU. That's a good win.
That's a good win.
It's a very good win. So they're number 5. Who's up next?
I'll go.
All right, let's go.
So, yeah, when you look at the top 5, everyone knows they come to this show to look at my college football rankings. Coming in at number
This
1.
is like a clown show.
No, it's not. No, it's
clown
not.
show. The clown show is what happened in Northern Illinois this past week.
That's
You're
right.
right about that.
Coming in at number 1, the Michigan Wolverines. Listen, I think that they look like a complete team. I think that they look very, very good. And no, they haven't played a whole lot of tough talent, but they just look very complete. And I think that this might be the year that, I mean, they were looking to get over the hump of Ohio State. They did that the past 2 years. This might be where they get over the hump and get into the national championship. And then Georgia, I mean, how can you not have Georgia in the top 3? They played some close games, but as you mentioned, they are reminiscent of the Chiefs in that they're the top dogs, and until someone knocks them off, they're going to continue to be the top dogs. Washington, watch that game against Oregon. They looked very, very good. Very surprised in Penix. And as
Penix
you
is
mentioned,
good. Penix
as you
is damn
mentioned,
good.
he's the Heisman front runner at the current moment. So Washington, it's tough not to have the Huskies.
Yep.
Now, the second best Huskies in the land is Northern Illinois.
That's right.
Because they got a big win over the best team in Ohio,
The best
Ohio
team.
University Bobcats, in a game that people will remember for the rest of
No
time.
doubt about it. Much like Appalachian State beating Michigan.
Correct.
Yes.
It was
No
very,
doubt.
very
Yes.
similar.
No doubt.
You called that game.
I did call that game.
Yep. And then finally, I know that our Bluffton Beavers lost by 25 points again this week, but they're the best 1-5 team in college football. Regardless of division, you don't want to have the Bluffton Beavers on the schedule. So that's why I have them at number 5. Other people in the media, other cowards, won't have them in their top 25, let alone their top 5. I'm not a coward. They're a top 5 team in the country.
Michigan would pay a lot of money for Bluffton to come play them week 1 next season.
You got that right.
That's right. I knew Tom would like
That's
that
who
one.
they play.
All right, here we go. My top 5. My top 5 is a little similar. I know. Listen, Georgia.
Oh, my God.
Georgia's number 1. They're
I
7-0.
always forget about Oklahoma. Go ahead.
I will
Darn
say,
it. All right.
here's the thing. I'll say this about Georgia. They did just lose Brock Bowers. He's out for 6 weeks.
Maybe longer.
Maybe longer. That's a big-time loss. Saying that, defense is still elite. Georgia Bulldogs, they're still the team to beat in college football right now. Number 2, Florida State. Still being slept on are the Seminoles. Still being slept on. I think Florida State's pretty damn good. And I know the numbers next to them there aren't great.
No,
Offensive,
they're not.
defensive.
They're not great.
But undefeated.
And they barely beat Boston College
That's-
by 3 points.
That's fine, Tom. I'm not worried about that. That's a win is a win is a win.
It is.
Correct.
A win is a win is a win. Kirk Herbstreit and the boys are going to put them in the playoff if they stay undefeated. Michigan, number 3. They have a very tough schedule, and they've dominated it so far. So they're 7-0.
That's what everyone's saying.
They have the second best defense. They're not allowing any points.
Well, yeah. There's a reason for that.
why is that?
Go ahead.
Okay, and number 4, Oklahoma. Everybody slept. Listen, when you come to Nippert Stadium, it's tough to get a win.
Damn right.
Oklahoma did that. Came in here, shut UC down. UC, everybody knows UC is a top 5 team in the country. Emory Jones is a Heisman frontrunner, top 300 for sure.
But not your top 5.
Huh?
But not in your top 5.
Not my top 5. Other people's top 5. And number 5, we have Northern Illinois. Listen, Northern Illinois beat the best team in the state of Ohio. Maybe
Second best. I said second best all along.
The best team in the state of
No, I
Ohio.
did
Maybe
not
the best
say
team in the
that.
country.
Did not
The Ohio
say that.
Bobcats, the Bobbies. They won easily. It was never a doubt. It was a dismantling of a once promising Ohio Bobcat program. So Northern Illinois, top 5 team in the nation.
What's funny is that me and Elliot, that little bit about Northern Illinois, we did not plan that together.
Nope.
That's
That's just how our brains work.
that was an individual joke from each of us.
Those are our top 5s, though.
Yep.
Listen, I stand by mine.
Okay. All right. Casey, could you bring some sanity to all this, please? This has turned into a joke.
Well, I don't do the top 5 for college. I usually do the stink list, which I did not prepare a stink list for today's show because we had so much planned. But if I had to grade everyone's top 5 college, Tom, you'd get a B+. You get a B+. I like
good,
it.
that's good.
I think Penn State's getting snubbed a little bit.
Okay, that's fair.
Again, I think Penn State's getting
But
snubbed
I
a
gave
little
a
bit.
reason for
And
it. I gave a
know,
reason
I
for
know.
it.
That's why you got a B+ and not a B.
Okay.
And then Reed, A-. A-.
Thank you.
I mean, Bluffton being in the top
Oh
5.
my
I
God.
mean, everyone knows that they're the best 1-5 team.
They're the best 1-5 team.
They're the best
regardless of
1-5
division.
team.
At a
And then-
tough one.
And then Elliot, I think you get a B+ as well.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Because Northern Illinois, I mean,
really
you
good.
guys are
We're sharp.
sharp, very sharp. Tom, you ready for your NFL?
I'm ready. Here we go. All right, NFL power rankings. I got the Miami Dolphins, number 1. They look mighty good.
They did.
Yes, they do.
They do. I still think they would lose to the Chiefs in a playoff game, but right now they look the best. What are you going to say, Elliot?
I was going to say, if the Dolphins lose Tua, how bad does that team fall off the map?
No doubt about it.
I mean, if
We saw it last year.
Yeah, I just think the Dolphins right now are I mean, one injury, one acorn off a tree hitting Tua in the helmet.
Okay, but wouldn't you say the same thing about all those teams, or the Chiefs for sure up there?
Yeah, the Chiefs for sure, but I think the Dolphins specifically. I don't think the Dolphins have a plan if that happens, so we'll see.
Okay. I got the Niners at 3, even though they lost. When they're healthy, they're on their game. The Lions check in at number 4.
Yeah.
The battling Chris Spielmans.
They're good.
And the Philadelphia Eagles, number 5. I wanted to put Baltimore in there. I'm not ready yet. If they beat Detroit this week, they're in.
You think Baltimore's the 3rd best team in the AFC behind the Dolphins and the Chiefs? Like the Bills would be sneaking up there.
I do think that the Ravens are better than the Bills.
That's fair.
Yes.
That's fair.
Yes.
You're going to love this top 5 then. Casey, go ahead and fire this one up. Coming in at number 1, I have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, my God.
Tom, this is no bit. I do the bits on the college one. This is me being serious. The Kansas City Chiefs, everyone laughed at me last week when I had them at number 1. I know this to be true, and you guys can fight with me. If the Chiefs played any team in the NFL on a neutral site, like the Super Bowl, I think the Chiefs would be favored. I think they'd be favored over the 49ers. I think they'd be favored over the Eagles. I think they'd be favored over the Bills, yada, yada, yada. I think that the Chiefs are the best team in the league. And like Tom said with Georgia, like I've said with Kansas City, they're the top dogs until someone knocks them off. I don't understand. And I know they haven't the points aren't there, but they're still moving the ball very well. And everyone wants to go, the Chiefs aren't very good because their offense is not very good. Their defense looks great. Did they not get credit for their defense? I don't know. The Chiefs' hatred is I can't understand it. I have the Bills at number 2.
And the Chiefs have the best fan in the world, Taylor Swift.
That's true.
Behind them.
That's true.
You didn't even mention that.
Although that Chargers fan last night, did you watch the Chargers fan?
We did. That might be the cherry on top. If I
That
can
was
find
hilarious.
that
I don't know if
Chargers
Tom
fan.
saw that.
I did not see that.
Okay, we'll make that the cherry on top.
All
I have
right.
the Bills in at number 2. I think the Bills are the second best team in the AFC. I think they're the second best team in the league. I think that out of all the teams that you could play, I still believe in the Bills. I think everyone has just gotten off the Bills bandwagon. For 2 years now, we've labeled them
They've given you reason to get off the bandwagon.
Right. I'm not gonna do that yet. I think Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think that their offense is highly potent. I think their defense is still very good.
Okay.
I think the Eagles are a more complete team than the 49ers. I think, and that is purely because of Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
I think I would rather have Jalen Hurts quarterback my team than Brock Purdy.
No argument there.
And then finally, I had the Dolphins because at this point you can't ignore what the Dolphins are. Although I think they're a little fraudy.
Okay.
But I still think they're the third best team in the AFC.
Okay. Z-Brazilianaire time.
Let's
Power
go, baby.
5.
Top 5 NFL. Here we go. Number 1, 49ers. They're the best team, undisputedly, in the National Football League. They're just damn good. They're just really good. The Philadelphia Eagles, again, both those two teams lost. Losses happen in the NFL. Not everybody can be the Patriots team that went undefeated, and we'll get to the Patriots here in a second. The Chiefs are number 3. I agree with Reed. Everybody's sleeping on the Kansas City Chiefs. That's nonsensical. I was told their offense wasn't very good. They have a damn good offense. They have a damn good defense, and the Chiefs are legit. They're legit.
Got best quarterback in the league, best coach in the league.
Best quarterback in the league, and they have Taylor Swift. Number 4, we have the Miami Dolphins. I think Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert have combined for like 37 touchdowns in 6 weeks. Tyreek Hill is 186 yards shy of 1,000 through 6 weeks of football. 6 weeks of football. So, I think the Dolphins, if they stay healthy, if they have a very good chance to play in an AFC championship, AFC championship game, and maybe go to the Super Bowl. I think they're good. And number 5, we have the Patriots. If they had Tom Brady, they would be undefeated right now. And you could the age-old question, was it Brady? Was
That's
it
right.
Belichick? Was it Brady? Was it Belichick? That debate's been over for a long time now. Brady. It was Brady all along. It wasn't Belichick. Belichick's on the sideline throwing tablets as he's throwing his iPads on the ground after Mac Jones has taken game-losing sacks. I think if the Patriots had Tom Brady there, cementing that roster, maybe win a Super Bowl.
It's not too late to come back.
That's right.
the Patriots, I think I said this on Box Lunch yesterday for our members only Box Lunch, but the Patriots, I've had a very good month gambling wise, Tom. I've been green every day but the first of the month. It's been very, very good.
Wow.
The team I can't quit. It's like an ex-girlfriend, Tom. I can't quit the Patriots. I bet them every week and they get their tails kicked.
You bet them to win?
Yeah.
Well, then you better keep doing it.
It's not going well.
Offsetting all your winning cash.
It's
They're terrible.
They're not very good.
I mean, they are terrible.
Right. I can't quit them.
And apparently, there are some on the inside that say that Robert Kraft is getting really, really, really chapped about it.
Do you think he'd fire him?
That was a question that was asked the other day, and there are some on the inside that believe he absolutely would fire him.
I don't think so. I think what Belichick did for the city of Boston, what he's done for the Patriots, New England Patriots, it's more than any coach has ever done in the history of the sport.
Yep.
Really, in any sport,
Yep.
I'd argue. So I don't think there's a way he fires him. Maybe it comes out where it's a mutual whatever.
Step down.
But I don't think
I can't see him getting fired. Like Belichick would just have to be tired of losing. But he seems too stubborn. He seems too stubborn to leave.
I have a hot take about Belichick because a lot of people are blaming his coaching. I don't really think it's coaching. I think it's because he's the GM. I mean, the last couple drafts have been awful.
Number of drafts. More
the
than
acquisitions and free agency, terrible.
Yep, terrible.
I mean, now they have one of the worst offensive lines in football. Defensively, they're still pretty decent. But, man, when it comes to offensive just scouting, he's not very good at it. Not very good at all. But I think that's
a fair point.
I think that's the problem with their team right now. They just don't have any weapons.
You're right. You got to have players.
Yeah. You got to
have players.
It's an offensive league now. And
all right, and what's your top 5?
Stink list.
Did you do one?
I would usually do a stink list.
We'll do
I did not do it today because we had so much to cover today.
Well, I think tomorrow then when you break it out, tomorrow will be a first. Because there's no way you can do it again. You know what I'm talking about here. You can't do it again.
The mistake by the lake.
That's exactly right. You can't. They just beat the best team in football. Without their starting quarterback, with a journeyman. There's no way. There is no way, Casey. You will lose all credibility, even though you were accused of being a troll today. And I don't know how much credibility trolls have. I'm just becoming familiar with that word today. Mm-hmm. There's no way you can have them there.
Tom,
you can't. Am I right, Reed? Elliot? I can't do it, right?
Listen, I can't speak for Casey. I just know that team smell pretty bad. They smell pretty bad.
Here, listen. I can guarantee that the Browns will be moving. That's
a little tease. Casey's getting better at this whole thing. He does the teases. He does it really well. That's great stuff, Casey. Listen. I said yesterday, and I still kind of believe it. I think the Browns are a better version of the Cowboys. And I still believe that, even though the Cowboys just got to win over the Chargers.
I'm on board with you on that after last night.
I think that they got a better D. They got a limited quarterback. Both teams do. I don't know. I just feel like they're a better version of the Cowboys.
Well, I tell you what. They get Deshaun Watson back, and I know he hadn't been the Deshaun Watson of old. We all agree on that.
Yeah.
But
he's great.
In Cleveland, when you have a chance to have some hope, and those have been limited days for a long time.
No doubt
right?
about it.
It's like your guy Obama. Hope and change.
Hope and change, Tom.
Right? Sell it, baby.
My guy.
That's your guy.
All
right. Look, we have had an unbelievable fall here in the tri-state. But the last few days, especially during Operation Pumpkin, what's the snickering?
I didn't snicker.
You did snicker.
I did not snicker.
During Operation Pumpkin, we had some rain, and it was too bad. And it's been cloudy last few days after a lot of sunshine. So let's get the very latest on what to expect the rest of your day, tomorrow, into the next calendar year. Here's Elliot.
Hey, everybody. Listen, it's Elliot Michaels with Chatterbox 420 Weather. Listen, I know it's not really sunny outside, but that's okay. The days are shorter too. Brian B wanted me to mention that in the chat. He said that the sunlight of little of that there is does go away sooner. It's like it gets dark at like 6 p.m. I don't know if that's accurate,
Pretty
but
depressing.
pretty depressing. It is. Here's the thing, though. It feels great. If you have a hoodie, you go outside, you frolic in the grass, you frolic in the field. It feels great. You have a bonfire. I already did this bit yesterday. I'm going to do it again because that's how important it is to me. It feels so good outside. We're going to need a little bit of sun. If Mother Nature can come out and give us some sun, that would be great. But if you're looking for temperature-wise, Casey, I got this for you right here. It's a high about 60 degrees today. Thank you, Casey. It's about a high of 60 today, and it's going to be about a low of like 45 when it gets dark outside. Again, that's the weather. That's all you got to do. There's no need to tune in tonight to any local news station to hear about murders, whatever else they're talking about on the program. I'm telling you right now, if you don't believe me, you look on your phone, you check it there, boom, 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 easy. There it is. That's the weather. High of 60, low of 40. That's all I got. Ronald Reagan, you got anything?
Yeah, bring it over here. I love the Ronald Reagan bits because I do so well with it. Listen, I don't understand why he calls me Ronald Reagan because I just feel like that's not accurate. I mean, I'm sitting in a chair based on my political affiliations. Maybe FDR would be better.
Yeah, that's actually throw it back to me. Yeah, so I think I'm going to start calling Reed now FDR.
Yes.
I think Franklin Delano would be a much better comparison for Reed Mouse.
Because I'm sitting in a chair.
Because yeah, yeah, okay.
That's nice.
That was brutal.
Oh,
That's the kind of
this
thing we do
show
here.
is dipped to new lows. Go ahead.
That's terrible, Tom. And me and Tom, listen, Tom and I was going to actually rank at some point this week my top 5 things from Pumpkin Town. From Pumpkin Town, Operation Pumpkin.
Okay.
I was going to rank my top 5 favorite things. The weather was bad for that. Here's what I'll promise you. This week, the weather is going to be good. It might rain, but it's going to be really, really good. So no worry about that. Everybody's going to be okay. That's it. Tom or Chip, back to you.
Well, wait a minute now. I thought we were checking in with Reed. I mean, FDR.
The best is when he'd flip it over to Ronald Reagan, and I would do my best for like a Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. I don't know. I can't do a Ronald Reagan. I don't get it. I don't get the bit, but I love it every day.
Mark suggests that we nickname you Eleanor Roosevelt.
That seems fair. Feels more fair than Reagan. I don't know, Tom.
Oh, boy.
Can we get this camera off?
Well, let's go into the ads. How about that?
Yes.
Let's
go
have
and
the
do these ad
absolutely.
reads. So we pay the bills around here.
Yes, we do.
We're going to get into some Bengals talk here at some point. So the Bengals Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
Productivity.
Visit Encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. Let me tell you about this lovely water, Pawnee Water. Made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Pawnee
Right across
water.
the street.
Yeah, right across the street from us. Like literally.
Yep.
This stuff tastes great. And let me tell you, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. That makes for the best tasting water in the world and a healthy alkaline water. You can visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com and buy yourself some Pawnee Water. And for me, the one thing I really love about this water, it says it right here on the bottle, high pH bottled water, but it's not too high. It's not a 9, and it's not low like a 7.
No.
It's a perfect 8.
Yeah, perfect 8.
Perfect 8. Reed, what do you like about this water?
Well, everyone knows that I love the natural limestone filtration, but really the best thing about this is just the involuntary reaction I have when I take a sip. I mean, that's all I can say.
What do you like about it, Elliot?
I love the smoothness. Listen, when it goes down the gullet, it's nice and easy. It's nice and smooth. I'm not going to talk about any other brand of water, but when you're looking at the islands of Fiji or Evian or any of these other brands I won't mention, they're not as good. They're not as good.
Nope.
If I was the president of the United States, President Elliott, I would make Pawnee the national water of our country. It would be the country's water.
But see, that's where you're thinking too small.
The world?
I think you approach the United Nations to start with.
I agree.
Right? And make Pawnee the official water of the UN, right? I mean, that would probably be about the best thing the UN has done in probably 40 years. And then we could actually
Seems like a
start
political
now that
take,
we
Tom.
have a new division of the military, right? With the aerospace division.
Yeah, Space
right?
Force.
So you actually make Pawnee intergalactical.
Oh. I love it.
See?
Now we're talking.
Ellie, you're normally
Let's
a big
take Pawnee to
thinker.
Mars.
Let's take Pawnee to Mars.
Can
blow the
you
Martians
see
off the map.
John Glenn and Neil Armstrong? God rest their souls. Right? Both native Ohioans.
That's
native
right.
Buckeyes. Neil Armstrong and John Glenn. Can you not see them right now, back in the day, holding a bottle of Pawnee water
Would have
as
been
they
great.
march across the moon?
One small step for man, one giant gulp of Pawnee water for mankind.
Tom, do you think the moon landing was fake?
Stop it.
A lot of people say that the picture was staged because the flag it shows
was blowing.
It's blowing, but it can't blow when you're in space. So a lot of people think it's fake and that we actually have never been to the moon.
Tom,
Good
now
for
that
those people. I hope they have a great day.
Tom, now that
I hope
space,
they have an awesome day. God bless them.
now that
And when they
the
get out of their parents' basement, and go ahead. What?
I was just gonna say, now that you can tour in space, now that you can be a tourist
Yeah.
of space, civilians can go into space. Is that something that is in Thom Brennaman's future?
I would love to do it. I don't have the cash to go do it. I think you got to pay a lot of money to do it, or be asked, personally. And I'm not certainly on a speed dial sort of relationship with
You're not that connected.
your guy.
My guy.
Yeah,
Who's my guy?
Bezos.
Oh. I mean, how many guys I got?
Well, I mean, that's your crowd. That's your crowd. Yeah, that's your crowd. Now, I might have a chance of getting a call from Musk. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's debatable. Maybe. But certainly not Bezos. Okay. Bezos.
Pesos.
Lots of pesos is what he has.
Nice.
Oh,
We're rhyming.
Tom!
Not bad, right?
That's
Not
good.
bad.
That was pretty good.
Okay. Look, we're going to talk about the baseball playoffs after Brian Billick. But I want to ask you guys, I mean, you're saying you're saying DUN done. Diamondbacks done.
DUN
You
done.
said done. One game done.
I was watching the
They
game.
had a chance to tie that thing up
Yeah.
late.
I was watching the game last night with my dad, and I was. The Philadelphia Phillies are playing like the best team in baseball right now. They are. They have 6 first pitch home runs this playoffs, just this postseason alone.
Yep.
They're coming out of the box hot. I think the fan base in Philadelphia is the best fan base in sports. I think they have the best home field advantage in baseball. Everything is going right for Philadelphia right now. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. So Philadelphia is going to beat, and I think they're going to sweep the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Ooh, sweet.
And I think the Philadelphia Phillies will then win the World Series against the Texas Rangers.
Listen, the Phillies are playing ball. I mean, it's reminiscent of what they did last year, right? I mean, they just get so much energy, energized from the crowd, and they've got nut cutters, as we've talked about time and time again. Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper. These guys are guys that you want up to the plate in postseason, in meaningful at-bats, and they're showing why. They're balling out right now, and it's tough. It's tough to see the Phillies losing this series, despite how well the Diamondbacks have played, because they played some spirited ball too. But it's just so tough to see the Phillies losing this series, especially going up 1-0 like they did last night.
And it seems like nobody was really talking about the Phillies all season. As a Reds fan, maybe it's just because I subconsciously already put them in the playoffs, just don't have to worry about them. But I was just thinking of the Braves, the Dodgers. You go down the line, the Brewers, and all these great teams supposedly. You talk about them, but the Philadelphia Phillies, they slip into the playoffs, and now they're the best team. They're the best team, odds-on favorite. I don't know if that's accurate. They have to be. Are they odds-on favorite? I don't know. I'll look up after
probably
this.
the Rangers because they're up 2-0. But
One of the best teams in baseball right now is playing. It's the Philadelphia Phillies.
before we get to our interview, Tom, we did have a $5 super chat from Drew Garrison. He said, Tom was sworn to secrecy by the government. He acted as Armstrong in the recording of the fake moon landing. Open your eyes. Is that true? Were you the actor? Was 10-year-old Tom the actor on the moon landing?
This is the silliest nonsense I've ever heard. Well, that's Brian Billick. He's old enough to remember this. Look at him with his Titleist lid on. I mean, golly day, boy. You back in the Buckeye State now, right? After a summer in Minnesota?
Better believe it. Just got done with a golf lesson, and we're still whacking away here.
All right. Do you believe that was that America actually landed on the moon with fellow Ohioans Neil Armstrong, John Glenn, et cetera, or do you think that was staged in a studio somewhere?
You know what? My son-in-law thinks that. He did a whole dissertation in college on how it was a fake moon landing. No, I'm afraid maybe I'm just naive, but I really believe we went to the moon.
Absolutely. All right, I want to ask you, before we get into some specifics, 6 weeks into the NFL season, is there anything for you that jumps out that surprised you, good, bad, indifferent, anything you've sort of noticed, whether there's trends in the league, situations that are going on in the league, anything, one or two things that stand out for you so far?
Well, just the parity in the league. I mean, for a while in the NFC, it looked like San Francisco and Philly were just going to run away with it, and nobody was going to beat them. Certainly Kansas City in the AFC and Buffalo. But what we have found is that even those really good teams, and they are really good teams, and they're likely to be the teams standing there at the end when we get through to the championships. But everybody's got some warts. Buffalo has been really surprising. Josh Allen has looked absolutely spectacular. But then he has 2 games, the opener and last week, where he kind of looks pedestrian. Kansas City looks like they have a few flaws, aren't quite putting up the big plays and the scores they had before. And we saw last week with both Philly and San Francisco, they're human. They got their formulas down. They're going to play balanced. They're going to run the ball. They're going to have big plays, but they are beatable. So, that group clustering the top in the AFC, that's got to be Kansas City. Surprisingly or not, depending upon your point of view, with Miami being there, Jacksonville's kind of rebound. Buffalo's still going to be there. In the NFC, I think you have to now include Detroit. Who'd have thought would ever say that they look like they have some – Dan Campbell's done a great job in developing some consistency and belief. So if there's one trend, it's that this thing, and it's exciting, is truly wide open.
All right, I want to get into something very specific around here that people, not only this year because of the start of the season, Bengals started 0-2, they started 1-3, now they bounced back to get to 3-3. But even last year, Brian, frequently it's been brought up about play calling. Now, that goes on everywhere. You know that when you were calling plays in your offensive coordinator days with Minnesota. When you came to Baltimore, did you continue to call plays when you were the head coach? I can't believe I'm asking you this question and I don't know the answer to it all the time we've been together.
I went in and out of it. I began, because again, you get these jobs because of a perceived, competence on one side of the ball or the other. And what we did in Minnesota, my background offensively, the first year I did call it because I felt like I had to get the coaches and the team integrated to what I wanted. But then after that, I turned it over to Matt Cavanaugh. Later on, late when I had Jim Fossil, I had to relieve Jim of his duties, God rest his soul, and took it back over, which frankly is not a good thing because eventually that's going to catch you. When you're the head coach, you're responsible, and it's 16 wins and beyond and all that. When you're also the play caller, and I obviously in Cincinnati, he's got to deal with this a little bit. Now you're being questioned. Your competence is being questioned directly on 1,200 calls a year. And it could be a mentality. It's like Staley down in San Diego, or it's not San Diego, with the Chargers. He's the defensive guru. He gets the job. And he's calling the defense now. And now they're questioning that. Well, if you can't even do that, should you be the head coach? So there is some peril with it. I can make a case either way as to whether you should or you shouldn't. My only point is, if you're the head coach and you're calling the plays, then who's doing the other things? Because it's kind of funny. You look at this and you're a play caller, you're an offensive coordinator. It's all consuming 24/7. It's all you think about. And then you get a head job and you think, well, I can do the head job thing too. I can do what I've been doing that has been 24/7, all encompassing, but I can do those. Well, no, you can't. So at some point there has to be a balance between, well, I call it the 3 a.m. rule. When you wait, you're close to my age. We all wake up about 3 and do what you got to do. Well, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about, do I put the fullback in the flat? Do I do this at that depth? Well, if you are, then who's the one thinking about, well, do I make this roster move? What do we need at this, the schedule, all those other things that the head coach has to do. So, it's a legitimate question about those guys that are the head coaches and call their plays, and they're brilliant at it. They're good at it until they're not, and then it really brings into question, well, should you be the guy?
Bill Belichick. We wondered for years and years, was it Belichick? Was it Brady? Was it the combination of the two? Now, all of a sudden, Brady leaves. He wins a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. Obviously, has since retired a couple of times. But boy, this New England thing is bad. Where do you see this going?
It's a good question because clearly Mac Jones is not the answer. And that's fair. That happens. At Bill Belichick at what's Bill, 70, 71?
Yep.
Do you really want to jump in now with what is, okay, we're going to take a quarterback next year. You know what that development is. You know the time frame on that and going forward. Do you really want to jump on with that? That, to me, is the big question. Obviously, he's a brilliant coach. Do you need to change a venue? It's hard to imagine saying that with a Bill Belichick who's been absolutely brilliant and is going to get slam dunk into the Hall of Fame. But sometimes, every coach is susceptible to that. And that's not to diminish Bill Belichick as an absolute Hall of Fame coach. Having Tom Brady certainly was an asset. And you can't deny that. Now that they're struggling, it's, well, okay, it was all Brady and Belichick isn't a good coach. Well, that's not fair either. That neither of those is true. But the world in the NFL is, believe me, Todd, I've lived it. You either have a quarterback, and if you don't, you're just not as good a coach.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, I frequently reflect back to your book among a few that you've written, but the one chapter about drafting a quarterback. And this year, I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback that had the success he had at the college level, but as we got closer and closer to the draft, he was just shredded for one reason or another in the press. And I'm talking about C.J. Stroud, right? What this kid did against Georgia in the national semifinal last year, and you look at all the other intangibles now, and I'm not saying this because I'm an Ohio State fan. I'm just saying to myself, are you kidding me? Who's going to be shredding this guy? And then the stuff leaks out about, what he do on the test and all this sort of nonsense. There's no question, is there, Brian, that he's the best of the lot at least through 6 weeks?
Yeah, well, let's begin with the fact that, yes, you are a Ohio State homer.
Yes, I am. Apologist. If you have to qualify it, then yes, you're an apologist.
No, and all these guys, it's very typical that, and as we wrote about in the book, there's absolutely no reason why the top 3 guys that were drafted with Richardson and Stroud and Young, they all have the qualifications to play and be great in the NFL. History will tell us that 1, maybe 2 of the 3 aren't going to make it. It's the fact. It just doesn't translate. And we did what we typically do. They have all these credentials coming in, and then the closer you get to the draft, more people want to pick them apart. Mainly to kind of cover their backside, even if they do take them, to say, well, I did tell you that, he grows his fingernails a little long. And so they want to have that little qualifier in the back end. But there's no reason all of these guys shouldn't be successful. You're right. C.J. Stroud has looked, obviously, of all of them, very, very good. Now, he's still under 60% completion percentage. But we talked about many times, Tom, Bill Walsh really felt like you're going to know by the 24th, 25th start of a young quarterback whether he's the guy or not. It may happen earlier, but if he's not that guy by that time, then he's not. Now, certainly C.J. Stroud, and again, how do you separate what's going on around him from what the quarterback's actually doing? What's going on around him obviously needs a lot of work as well. But C.J. Stroud certainly looks like it's not too big for him. Richardson, we don't know.
Yep.
because he's been hurt. And Young with Carolina, maybe the worst team in the league right now. There again, how do you separate what Bryce Young is doing and what's going on around him? So we still got a long way to play on these three guys, but history will tell us that a couple of these, unfortunately, it's not going to pan out.
We've heard a lot about the tush push, right, in Philadelphia. They seem to do it. Troy Aikman made the comment last night when Dallas had a 4th and 1 and they went for it, tried to get a quarterback sneak, and they didn't get it. Chargers stopped them. And he said, I don't know what it is. He was being serious when he said it. He says, I don't know what it is. Philadelphia seems like they almost have a patent on this thing. Every time they go for it, 3rd or 4th and a yard or 2, they always seem to get it. Now, of course, they don't always, but it certainly feels that way. Should that be addressed?
Well, first off, people will start to catch up with it as they do. Secondly, Jalen Hurst, Lamar Jackson's a tailback playing quarterback. Okay, Jalen Hurst is a fullback playing quarterback. I mean, that's a big, powerful man. So that adds to it as well. I mean, he's a big part of that push as well. And I'm surprised more and more people don't do it, and more teams are now going to adjust to it and say, okay, well, this is what you're going to do. This is how we're going to configure it. So you'll start to, I think, even see Philadelphia evolve to where they're going to show that tush push, and then they're going to go off to the edge or toss the ball out. They're going to some variations to it. I think there's some legitimate questions the league has to look at. Do we want to allow this? You didn't used to be able to push from behind. You couldn't aid a running back, a ball carrier that way, worried about injury. We take the center, the nose tackle can't line head up on a long snapper, right, for injury purposes.
Yep.
Not that there's been injuries from this, but I think that's something the league might want to look at and say, I don't know, is this really safe? And is this something that we want to legislate a little bit? But right now, you're right, Philadelphia sure makes it work. And everybody else, you see everybody doing it more and more with varying degrees. A lot of it has to do with the fact you don't have a stud like Jalen Hurst in there pushing.
Last thing I want to ask you about is the Jets, because I find them to be a fascinating team. I really do, because their defense is unbelievable how good they are. I mean, they got players everywhere. They won the game the other night, and their best corner, maybe the best corner in the league, Sauce Gardner, didn't play in the game. But they're having to go with Wilson. Where do you think how do you think they end up getting through this thing, and can they make a push with Wilson as a starter? Because, look, everybody and his brother wanted to run this guy out of town.
Right. Well, we're going to find out. So, like the conversation we just had, he is a capable player, okay? It has not shown up yet, and that's got to be a concern. You're right. With the defense that they have, their ability, again, you got to come back to your ability to run the ball. That's part of the combination. It's not a matter of just playing great defense, and is that good enough? When we had all those great defenses in Baltimore, we also carried a pretty good running game. So that was not that the defense wasn't, great on its own, but that running game's a factor as well. And that helps facilitate a great defense. I don't know that the Jets have that great running game. I mean, they're in the bottom quarter of the league in rushing offense. And so that would certainly help a Wilson as well. Is he good enough, as they were contending to do, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers figuring, okay, with this defense and Aaron Rodgers, that combination is going to put us in that elite status, and it might very well have been. I think they're going to continue to be a good team. I think they'll be a factor. Are they good enough to make a run with Wilson? It's not that he can't. It's just that he hasn't so far.
Okay, fair enough. Brian, we appreciate your time. It's great to see you, buddy. Welcome back
All
home.
right, man.
And, man, you look great. I'll talk to you soon.
Real good. Sounds good.
All right, Brian Billick, boy, sharp as ever. Guy knows what's going on in football, man.
Sharp.
He's on it. Mm-hmm. He is on it. He knows what's happening. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed working with that guy. You learn so much. And he was around, some of the great stories that Brian used to tell. We'd be in meeting rooms and spending a whole weekend together, and, you're getting everything ready for the game, but you're also having some time to kind of hang out in the room and just talk about anything in life. But, he got his first job under Bill Walsh. And, you see these guys standing on the sideline, and Brian has told this story thousands of times. You know, you see these guys standing on the sidelines like Mike McCarthy last night, right? And Mike McCarthy knows what he's doing as an offensive coach. I mean, this guy's won a lot of games.
No doubt.
People can badmouth him and say whatever they want to say. And you can say, well, yeah, he had Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, he has Dak Prescott. The guy knows what he's doing. He's a legitimate, excellent NFL head coach, despite what some might say. Is he the best? No. Is he in the middle of the pack? No. He's in the upper third, without a doubt.
No doubt.
But you see him standing there on the sideline, and every one of them. And they've got these, you know, they've got these color things and all this sort of stuff, and they've got, you know, 100 and something plays that they, you know, can choose from. And Billick used to talk all the time. He said, you know, the thing about Bill Walsh, two things was practice, and this started with Paul Brown. It's where Walsh got it. But, man, I mean, he took it to a whole new level because back when Paul Brown was coaching, and even when Walsh was coaching, you were wearing pads, you were hitting people, all that kind of stuff. You go to a 49ers practice, their practices would never last more than an hour and 30 minutes. Paul Brown used to say, if you can't get it done in an hour and 30, the rest of it's wasting time and you're not doing a good job. So some of these teams are out there for 2 hours and 15 minutes. 49er practice, hour 30, more times than not, guys in shorts. And, you know, and then when it comes to the number of plays, he said, look, we're not going to have 100 plays around here. Whatever it is, cut it in half. But the ones we're going to run are the ones that we are going to run over and over and over and over and over in practice. And we're going to get to a point where the other team can know it's coming and they're still not going to be able to stop it. This is what we are going to do. And that's what they did. That's what they did. How many times did you see the pass, swing it out to Roger Craig? Bam, off for 15 yards, right?
Yep.
How many times did you see through the years with a fullback? 49ers still the only team in the league to use a fullback, basically. I mean, how many times do you see slant to Rice? Gone, 80 yards. Now it's Jerry Rice, greatest receiver of all time.
Right.
Okay? But the point is that's what the 49ers did. And the rest of it was eyewash. And Brian used to talk about it all the time.
Simplification, Tom.
It is. And I loved his comments. I found it fascinating what he said about play calling as a head coach there.
Yeah.
That is a hot-button topic in his town, even through the Bengals' success the last couple of years. What did you come away thinking about that?
The way I think about play calling, Zach Taylor is going to take a lot of the blame no matter what happens here. Even if he's not the one specifically calling the plays, it's still he's the head coach. He's going to take the blame. So I'm not going to sit here and bash everybody or bash Zach Taylor specifically for being a bad play caller because he's going to take a lot of the blame no matter what happens here. But
play calling is so like nuanced. Like part of it is I called the play, go out there and execute it, and players don't execute, then it looks like a bad play call. But maybe it was a great play call. You know, there's just so much there that like it's hard to really. For Zach Taylor, I mean, I've been sitting up here banging my fist on the table for him to just be the head coach and give that duty to someone else, just because that exact reason. Like he's great at the roster construction, the culture.
Right.
And I would even go as far as to say he's pretty darn good at in-game decisions like timeouts and stuff like that. He's gotten a lot better since when he started. He's definitely grown in that aspect of his game. The only thing that we just keep pointing to over and over again is play calling, execution. And there's some balance there that's, for me, it's been a lot of the play calling. It's not been a lot of execution because we know what we got there. We got Jamar Chase, we got Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, all these players, and you're telling me that they can't execute good enough to win ball games. Like, you go to the play calling. But, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just execution, man.
Yeah, like that's the point of all this. Play calling is the easiest thing for fans to get mad about.
Of course.
Because it's the thing they understand the least, right? How many times have you watched a game and you saw a bubble screen, just a little screen pass to the wide receiver out on the edge, and it gets blown up, and you sit there and you just go, what the hell was that? That's a terrible call. But how many times did that exact same play get 4 yards, which is what it's designed to do? It gets 5 yards, which is what it's designed to do. And you just think, it's just another play. Listen, it all comes down to execution. It all comes down to whether you do the play. We look at the Kansas City Chiefs. We look at the Miami Dolphins, and we say, look at this play call. It's fantastic. Well, it's pretty easy to call plays for Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and go, well, look, we're geniuses out there. And that's what people are getting mad about the Bengals, is because we have seemingly a similar roster buildup where we go like, yeah, it's easy to call plays for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and all these pieces, and that's why we're frustrated. But it all comes down to whether or not they execute the plays, and when they don't, someone's got to take the blame. Might as well blame it on the thing we understand the least, which is play calling.
But see, the thing that struck me about that, and all your guys' point, you're spot on. But the thing that stood out to me there during that conversation with him was you now make yourself susceptible. This is Sir Boy Wonder, Super Chat, checking in. Does Tom buy the Bengals hype? I have said on the show, I don't know how many times, I buy the hype on the defense. I don't buy the hype on the offense, which is going hand in hand with what I'm saying here. Okay? And you're right, execution. That's end of story.
Right.
End of story. It's execution. Doesn't matter what the sport is. You can have the greatest game plan on the planet, but if you can't block, the left guard can't block Aaron Donald from chasing down the quarterback before the quarterback has enough time to make the pass to an open receiver, then it doesn't matter what the play scheme is. Okay? I don't think anybody has a problem with the play designs here that the Bengals have. You were going to say something.
I was just going to ask you as soon as you're finished up your thought. I got a question to ask.
All right.
you.
Well, all I'm saying is this. I found it interesting that Brian points out how when you are the play caller, and Brian said he did both, and he said he went back and forth. One time out of necessity after he'd given it up. Jim Fossil wasn't getting the job done. Billick has to take it back over. Didn't want to do it, but did it. Eventually got fired after signing a 4-year, $28 million deal. Got fired after his first ever losing season. But Zach Taylor has opened himself up now to incredible criticism, and it starts now to, take over the other things you just talked about that we all agree he's done an excellent job on as a head coach.
Right.
Looking at the makeup of the roster, evaluating talent, who's playing, who's not playing, the culture, the environment, what kind of guy they want in there. Now, there are other people involved in that decision, not just Zach Taylor. I mean, Tobin's involved, the Browns are involved, but they're drafting captains from teams, guys that played big-time college. Those are the kinds of people that they want on this team and in that environment, right?
Right.
But now all of a sudden, nobody remembers any of that. When you're flipping the ball to, what's the dude's name against the Ravens who hadn't touched the ball all year long, 4th and goal last year at the 1? Moses somebody? He didn't part the Red Sea on 4th and 1. What the hell are you laughing at?
It's a funny joke.
That was a funny joke,
It's a
Tom.
funny
That was
joke,
good.
Tom.
We're giving you credit for being
What were
witty.
you going to ask me?
I was going to ask you because I think a lot of people, a lot of fans want to criticize play calling last week against the Seahawks. I'm actually the opposite of that on this equation here. I think there was some really poor execution going on, and I think the coach has said something to that degree. But if you look at some of the stuff that happened last week against Seattle, I mean, they couldn't convert on a 3rd and 1. I mean, Joe Mixon gets hit in the backfield. I mean, they had a drive get stalled out with 2 sacks back-to-back for the most part.
Yep.
Like, there was a lot of execution issues, like Joe Burrow underthrowing Jamar Chase. I mean, that was a bad pick. There's a lot of execution that happened, or a lack of execution that happened last week. Do we think that execution has been a big part of the reason why they've been poor over the last 5 weeks? Because I sat up here and ripped the play calling week 1. I thought that they played pretty well week 2, good enough to win a ball game.
Yeah, they did.
Week 3, we beat the Rams. Still pretty ugly game. I had some issues with some play calling there. Yeah. Week 4, Titans, they couldn't do anything. And I thought probably play calling because of how they played to start the game. This week, they start the game on fire, and it just tails off.
Didn't tail off. It fell off a cliff.
Correct. So, Tom, my question to you is, has this season been a reflection of execution or play calling on offense?
Oh, I think without a doubt this year has been execution. I'm not going to beat down Taylor for the play calling a lot this year. Are you guys? I'm not. I mean, he's got a quarterback that's hurt, right? The first 5 games, really. He looked better in the 5th game. It's only the last 2 games he's been able to move at all. Now, I don't like the philosophy involved. You knew Burrow was hurt in July. At that point, you have to start planning for, well, A, is he going to be able to play? Okay, and once you resolve that he is, well, then B, we're going to probably have to do things a little bit differently. I didn't see those adjustments made in any form or fashion, really for this entire year. Now, all of a sudden, the last 2 weeks, Burrow's moving a little bit better, so you can open up the playbook a little bit more, do a few more things. But, look, they're the ones that brought in this offensive line. They are the ones who brought in this line. 3/5 of this line are free agent players. The other 2 are drafted players. You drafted Jonah Williams as a first-round player.
Yep.
He has not played like a first-round tackle.
Nope.
There's no doubt about that. Give him credit. He's tough. He cares. I'm not going to badmouth the guy as a guy, but he's not a first-round pick, top pick. And he's gone after this year. Volson, I mean, come on. I'm sure he's trying hard. But the other 3 guys, no, I mean, really. I mean, he's not a disaster.
He was better last year.
But he's not an asset. He's not an asset. He's not a tremendous deficiency, but he's not an asset. Okay? And Kyle Kasky talked about it yesterday. The free agent guys, Karras and
Kappa,
they're playing okay. But when you can't run the ball at all, that's my knock on this team.
Yeah,
they can't run it at all.
I've sat here in this chair for weeks now and have preached about how the Bengals, I said that the Bengals don't need to run the ball, how the Bengals aren't built to run the ball like you see the Browns and the 49ers, and that's still true. But I'm here to admit that I was wrong. There's something clearly wrong with the run game, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know where you fix it. Listen, when you've got all this talent, when you've got Joe Burrow, when you got Jamar Chase, when you got T. Higgins, when you've got Joe Mixon, who's a Pro Bowl running back, when you've got $1 billion wrapped up into the offensive line, to fix that, something's got to work, and it's not. Where is the deficiency? Is it because the players just maybe aren't as good as we thought? Is it because the play calling has been bad? Is it because the coaching? And people have been putting in the chat that they think the offensive line coaching has to be the problem because we've got so many revolving doors in there on the offensive line and it's still not working. It's not the players at that point. If you've tried 12, 15 guys over the past 4 years to figure out the offensive line and it's still not working out, something else is the problem. So where does this team figure it out? And I don't know. I think that one piece, before I let you go, Elliot, one piece is when Joe Mixon's not on the field currently, we're not running the ball.
Yep.
Chase Brown isn't going to run the ball. Drew Sample in the backfield certainly isn't going to run the ball. Travion Williams isn't going to run the ball. When Joe Mixon's not on the field that the Bengals are no threat to put the ball on the ground, and that's a serious problem.
To answer your one question, Trace did say it in the chat, and he is kind of right. It has been an execution problem because Joe Burrow's been missing throws every game this season. He has been missing a lot of throws. He's been unsuccessful at throwing the ball downfield. He hasn't been able to do it. He hasn't been able to connect with his guys yet this season. T. Higgins having one catch in like 4 different games is unacceptable. So as much as we want to sit and bash Zach Taylor, and the one thing I will bash him on, and that's the reason why we can't run, is because we have one run design. It's when Joe Mixon's standing way back, 5 yards back behind the line, nobody's taking a snap under center, and I get that's how the Bengals are supposed to operate. Yeah. Chiefs still take 60%. Chiefs have about 60% of snaps are out of the shotgun or whatever you want to say. 40% still are under center. Bengals have 0% under center. So when that's what you're doing, everybody knows what's going to happen. Joe Mixon's going to start 5 yards back, and he's not going to get a whole lot of yards. Now, to Joe Mixon's credit, his yards per carry has been high this season. I think he has had some success when he breaks free. So that's one point. But
there's no commitment to the run game,
Yeah,
though. Every single game, whether they're ahead in the game or behind in the game, and they've been behind most of the time, they're throwing the ball 45, 50 times, and they're running it 15.
That's not good.
The one thing that I push back on, and I know a lot of people say this, is the fact that the Bengals do run out of the shotgun. To me, I think that's a bit of a tired take. I don't think that there is very much of a difference for the running back taking it out of shotgun as opposed to taking it as the offense is under center. They're both starting 5 yards behind the line. They're both getting the ball as about a second delay. It's all the same. It's the only difference is we are kind of choreographing. We're kind of saying when Joe Burrow's to the left, we're not running a whole lot of counter plays to the left. Right. So the run play is probably going to go to the right. That's a problem. That's why Casey says let's run some pistol, because then you're at least hiding where you're going to be pushing the ball, where you're going to be going with the ball. I don't think the problem is that we're taking it out of shotgun. I think that the run design, we're not pulling guys. We're not having crackbacks. We're not doing any of the things that make a run game efficient. That's the problem. We're sitting and letting the guys, this offensive line that hasn't played fantastic this year, and we're saying, hey, you got to beat your man. You've got to beat your man. There's no design. There's no design. There's nothing creative going on with the blocking scheme. That's the problem.
Yeah, which goes back to is it a play calling issue or is it a execution issue? Because they are comfortable with just running duo, doubling the guys up front, not getting that second level, and just letting Mixon get 3 yards every time. But as soon as they get off of duo, they try to run some inside-outside zone, something that's more athletic, where they're telling their guys, you got to win your one-on-ones, get to the second level. It's just not happening. And there's no creativity with it. You're not pulling anyone. There's hardly any motion to speak of that helps the offense in the run game, like misdirection where you're motioning one guy and you're running the other direction. There's none of that. And that's where I have a problem. I think that's where I have my problem with this team is I have a hard time pinpointing whether or not it's an efficiency issue, whether or not it's the guys that just can't do what's being asked, or whether or not it's that they're not being set up for success. Because I think there's a lot of teams right now that are really good at setting their guys up for success. The Bengals are one of the worst at it. The Bengals are always asked to beat their guys one-on-one, even in the passing game. I can't tell you how many times Jamar Chase has to beat a guy on a fade route and catch a back shoulder throw. That is just winning your matchup. You're not doing anything creative to, beat that guy except for maybe a little hesitation. Maybe you're shading towards the inside and then you cut back to the outside. But there's no play design where they have to worry about another player getting into their space. There's no misdirection. There's no helping him in motion. And there was a lot of that against the Rams and the Cardinals, a little bit less against the Seahawks, which worried me a little bit. But again, it's hard to really pinpoint where the issues are, in my opinion.
And the final point I'll make about the run game and everything like that, and the play schemes, the way that we draw up plays, and this goes to Elliott's point. And I know I just said that I think you can have an efficient run game. I think it's a tired take to say that you always have to go under center to have a good run game. I will say that if we are ever going to go under center, then we got to do it more. Yeah. You remember the third and short that we had? And we put two tight ends out there, only have one guy wide, and we're under center. And literally all 70,000 people in Paycor Stadium and the millions that were watching at home were like, all right, here comes a run. If we're going to go under center, we got to drop back and pass at some point, right? If we go under center, it can't be a run play every time. If we're going to commit to doing that, then we've got to have more plays out of that system. Yeah. It can't always be a shotgun, and then we're going to go under center. Yeah, we're running the ball.
And people will always make the argument, and it's sound argument, is when you're under center, you have a better chance of play action working if you can
That's
just
true.
run
That
a little
is a
bit.
point.
Now,
That's a good
so look, there are arguments to all of that about which is better ultimately. Probably, if nothing else, I would think giving the other team something to think about or having to prepare for. Okay, Now this is going not necessarily against what I brought up earlier about Bill Walsh and the number of plays and just do them well. But it's just if you give somebody just a different wrinkle, it's something they always have to get ready for in preparing against your team. Right now, teams are stacking the box against the Bengals, and they're saying they know the quarterback is hurt. And they're saying, we're going to make you beat us throwing the ball 50 times. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's not working. I mean, it's 3-3, but the offense is not working.
Right. I would say, too, like if we look back at past Bengals teams that were able to run the ball under center, they also had some of the biggest pass plays. Like remember Uzama catching in the fourth game of the season against the Jags?
Yeah.
That was under center. There was a couple times where Hayden Hurst was making really big plays from under center. Like that wrinkle's completely gone now. It's not respected whatsoever. And you're right, Tom. They're pretty much, from what I can see, is they're stacking the box.
Yep.
They have a guy that they know that the offense is not going to get creative throwing deep, that they're going to just shade over Jamar Chase. And if Jamar Chase doesn't win that fade route, then they pretty much got us locked up, which is just a tough spot to be in.
We'll see what happens. They've got now 2 weeks here, okay? And it looks like Burrow is getting healthier. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yep.
So, now you get 2 weeks. You got to get Orlando Brown back. But now all of a sudden you're going to start playing some teams, a little bit different deal, different animal. 49ers, Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, Steelers twice, Browns again. Houston's not going to be some pushover down here. I think when the season started, we thought that's an automatic win. Well, it might be, but it might not be. So you're going to start playing some teams that you better start getting creative and doing some things. And as Reed points out, and all three of you guys point out, it's execution. I mean, I've heard Kurt Schilling say this once. I've heard it 10,000 times. Him talk about it. And he'd say, I don't give a shit if Derek Jeter's batting against me in the World Series. I know who Derek Jeter is. I know who he is. I know what he is. He's one of the great players of all time. Right. If I bury and execute the fastball on the inside corner, where basically he's hitting the ball with the knob of the bat, he's not going to get a base hit. It's not going to happen. And just go look up the numbers from that 2001 World Series. It's a miracle the Yankees got to a 7th game. They set the all-time record for futility on offense in a World Series. They hit like $110, but they happened to hit 3 home runs against a couple of relievers that set the series to 7 games. But it's back to the execution. If you make the pitch, you'll get them out. You give them a pitch to hit, you might get killed. And in football, same kind of thing. No different.
Greatest closer of all time through one pitch. Mariano Rivera.
That's it. Bury that cutter in on the hands to the right-handed batter. DUN done.
Done. I'm going to add this one little stat just because I saw it just to prove Reed's point just a little bit from Goodberry yesterday. Over the last 20 years, running out of the shotgun averages more yards per carry and more EPA than running from under center does. Now, I assume that doesn't factor in when a team runs 0% of the time from under center. Probably is a little different. But historically, running from shotgun helps the running back get more speed, get his place, look at the holes.
It gives them more vision is what it does. When you run under center, you're headed to a hole, and you get a lot more vision. The play happens a little slower, and it helps you out. But as we wrap up this show, and I'm looking at the look ahead lines.
Do we have a letter, by the way, today or no?
That's tomorrow. That was tomorrow.
Oh, darn it! People keep asking. They're demanding that.
I'm looking at the look ahead lines for the Cincinnati Bengals for their next 2 games. And the lines right now are both pick'ems. In San Francisco, Bengals are 1-point underdogs. In Buffalo, or at home against Buffalo, they're 1-point favorites. So that's just the look ahead lines. They might change. I don't know. This team is still believed by most people to be a very good team. And every week we come in here, we flip what we're talking about. Every single week. Last week, defense, got to play better. The offense is showing. We got to play better defense. Defense shows out, offense looks. This week, we're talking about defense looks incredible. Only gives up 3 points and 4 red zone possessions for the Seahawks. Offense got to play better. Next week, we're going to do the same thing. The week after that.
That's the name of the game.
When are we going to see a full game?
When are we going to see a full game?
That's
You're
the question.
exactly right. And maybe after this bye, people getting healthier, maybe that's what we see. All right. Is there anything after the show today?
No, nothing after. There will be a box lunch tomorrow.
Okay.
Box lunch, Monday,
and
Wednesday,
then
Friday.
tonight, it's Kyle Caskey's show at 9 o'clock.
That's right.
Casey, you're producing that show.
Yep.
So listen, we talk a lot about this stuff, and Kyle is able to show you film, coach's film. And he'll highlight the left tackle. He'll highlight the right guard. He'll do all this kind of stuff that really it's football 501. It's not 101. But to look through a coach's eyes at a game compared to, stiffs like me that are just watching the game and commenting on the game, it's a different animal altogether. So I think you'll really enjoy it. That's tonight, 9 o'clock, YouTube, Chatterbox Sports. Kyle Caskey going to break it all down on film, what's happening with the Bengals. All right, tomorrow Marty Brennaman will be with us. We're going to have a letter tomorrow.
A letter tomorrow.
All right.
You're gonna have a Reed's top 5
Reed's
tomorrow.
top 5.
Stink
We'll do
list.
buy or sell tomorrow.
Buy or sell.
I mean, Tom, this is a
we got
packed
a lot.
week.
This is a big league operation here. And we have a cherry on top.
Yes, we did.
Presented by United Dairy Farmers. Do men 60 or older wear diapers?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
I'm
Some of
thinking
them.
about it. Okay. I saw this girl last night. This is unbelievable, this girl. This is great theater.
This is like Elliot watching a game.
It is.
Look at her. She is so into it. Look at that.
And then wait. So and then after this, Casey, is this the one I sent you?
I'll pull up the one that you sent me.
Okay, so it's gonna be the same first part of it, and then once the Chargers lost, her face just goes
The interception.
numb. Yeah, it's hilarious.
But she is into it big time.
I think this was an NFL plant.
Jolly says that's an actor.
Yeah, I agree with Jolly. There's no way this is just
no way that's an act.
What? Yeah,
Yeah,
what are
it
you
is.
talking
way.
about?
Yeah,
That's
it
me
is.
watching the Bucks.
Jolly's a smart human being.
That's
Jolly
me watching the
knows.
Buckeyes.
It's an actor. Like, does the NFL, are they short on fanatics? What are you talking about? Like,
A few minutes later, this was the pick. The pick. Oh, my God. There's no way that's an actor.
That's an actor.
No
No,
chance.
it's not.
No.
That's an actor.
What are we talking?
Not to mention- not to
That is
mention-
a fan.
Not to mention, that game took place in Los Angeles. There's not one single person in the city of Angels that cares about sports.
You might be onto something there.
So there's just no way that was a genuine fan reaction.
You're telling me that the NFL it needs to get actors. Tom, finish the show.
Oh, no. They don't need to get actors. You're spot on, Reed. That's ridiculous. Jolly, you know better. All right, boys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll see you tomorrow.
We're good?
Yep.
We're
All
good,
right, we'll
baby.
see all you tomorrow. Thanks for being with us off the bench. Tell your friends to join us. Come on. We'd love to have you come on in. We're getting this thing rolling here. 10 to noon Eastern time. See you tomorrow.